This is Chapter 9, Cultural Geography of Latin America. First, we're going to start off with Mexico. Mexico. Who are the Mexicans? Well, the first Mexicans came to the area around 4,000 to 6,000 years ago. They came over on the Bering Land Bridge and moved throughout North America into Central America. The Mayans and the Aztecs make up the largest groups in Mexico. Whereas today the largest ethnic group in Mexico is the mestizos. This would be a mixture of natives and Europeans. Those are who the Mexicans are. The next thing we're going to look at is a map of Mayan and Aztec empires, the two largest empires that take place in modern-day Mexico and parts of the Yucatan. The population of Mexico, 107 million Mexicans. Mexico City has 19 million residents. It's considered a mega city. And a mega city is a city with a population of over 10 million people. 75% of Mexicans live in an urban setting. Here's an aerial map of Mexico City. It's quite large, and as you can see, it goes on for quite a long time. Next would be the history and government of Mexico. So prior to the arrival of the European explorers, the Maya and the Aztec dominated the area today known as Mexico. The Maya and the Aztec had the largest empires with amazing technological advancements. Many of those advancements you've learned in history classes in 7th grade, in 5th grade, and probably 6th grade as well. The Mayan long count calendar, which is pictured on the right, many Western scientists and archaeologists thought this calendar was predicting the end of the world. Well, seeing as that we're still here, it wasn't really that accurate. But when it came to not predicting the world and predicting the phases of the moon and the sun and when comets would go by and when growing seasons would be and when the 4 seasons would transpire, it was very accurate. The Mayan civilization, though, disappeared very mysteriously, almost without a trace. There are still descendants of the Maya living in the Yucatan today in very small villages. Next, the Aztecs. The Aztecs. The Aztecs believed in ritual sacrifice to their gods, and this wasn't animal, this was human. The Aztecs also created chinampas, or floating islands that would be used for growing crops. So they used the waterways around them to start these artificial islands that would be useful in growing the food that they needed for their city. The Aztecs also had a highly organized social structure with nobility at the top and farmers at the bottom. The Aztecs also had a very complex belief system with many gods. So we have a couple pictures here that are going to pop up. We have a picture of the ritual sacrifice on top of a temple pyramid, pulling out the heart, showing it to the sun god. It looks like the person was struggling, so it was probably still alive, which would make the best sacrifice is having a living one. Next, we have a picture of the chinampas as they're being cultivated, moved around. A series of canals would help for getting around the chinampas. And then we have a picture of a winged serpent god that is attached to one of the temples, which was very common to see. So we move on to culture of Mexico. The language is officially Spanish, but there's also 50 indigenous languages. Religion, 90% are Roman Catholic. Education varies by location, urban versus rural. And healthcare, it's subsidized healthcare, but it is improving. Last but not least, we have arts and sports. Many rurals and mosaics all throughout Mexico based on European influences. Many of today's artists are looking at indigenous cultures for inspiration to go back to the roots of Mexico. Soccer is a popular sport, otherwise known as football. Baseball is growing in popularity. And jai alai is also a very popular sport. Here we have a picture of a large cathedral within Mexico City that looks very much like the European cathedrals. The Mexican national soccer team. and an example of highlight, a sport kind of like handball. It's a little bit faster. So make sure you do your input and your output, and we will cover this information in class this next couple days. Thank you and have a great night.